Welcome to Mindful Mondays. This is the course on mindfulness of mind. So, the third element of the Mindfulness Sutra. So, we're going to look at mindfulness of mind states, being the third element of the Mindfulness Sutra. So, we've looked at mindfulness of body, we've looked at mindfulness of feelings, we're now on mindfulness of mind states. So let's look at an introduction. So we're going to look at what is the mind, why to be mindful of mind states, and just a quick reminder of the hindrances and the fetters, and then a meditation practice on the mind. So the mind is individual, subjective, experiencing of something that is always changing moment to moment. So you may have experienced that, where our mind just goes from one thing to the next. It's always changing. I think if you really get present to that, it is, and feelings come and go. You're never staying with one feeling at one time. But what actually is the mind? Because it's quite hard to grasp the concept. Let's have a look. It's a bit elusive, okay, and different languages conceptualize it differently. But from a Buddhist point of view, the mind is called citta, and it's quite a vast array of different things. So it includes sense perceptions, verbal and abstract thought, emotions, feelings of happiness and unhappiness, attention, concentration, intelligence, and much more. So it's every type of mental activity that's going on. And what we're going to do is we're just going to look at a video from Matthew Ricard to explain this.
So what is the current view of science about consciousness, about mind? Big question. Well, if you take neuroscientists, I think the vast majority of them have a physicalist, reductionist perspective. Means although they all agree that we don't really know what consciousness is and we cannot define it in the brain, but they are convinced that with time, we'll know more and more about the brain and we'll be able to fully explain consciousness. So in fact, some philosophers of mind, like Michel Bidbol, and then Buddhist, of course, the philosopher, will say, well, what you do is to resolve the soft problem. It means to make correlation between the activity of the brain and activity of consciousness. But you don't really, well, that's what they say, show a causation that what you feel as experience is causing those phenomena, or if it's the brain that caused them. But the real question is like this. When you go to matter, if you go down and down and down, you come to quarks or particles or the quantum vacuum, and then you stop there. The Leibniz question, why is there something rather than nothing, you cannot answer that. It is there. In Tibetan, we call chöni. That's the nature of things that phenomena do manifest. So unless you bring God or a creator, you cannot answer that question. Now, what about the mind? Well, you could study the mind from the outside, consciousness. That's what scientists do. And so that was what we call the third person perspective. They look into the brain, they look into the person experience, describe it from the outside. But if you take the first person perspective, you go deeper and deeper and deeper in your experience. Then what do you come to? I don't come to neurons at the brain. I don't even know that I have a brain unless the scientists tell me, because I don't feel it. What do I come to eventually is pure awareness, vivid, clear awareness, even without content, without mental construct. And then I cannot go further than that. That's a primary fact. So that's why we say that consciousness is primary as well as matter is primary. So that debate goes on and on. So let's see.
From Matthew Ricard in terms of what the mind is. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an explanation from a scientific point of view. But let's break it down so we can really get present to this. So with all the senses link back to the mind for our interpretation of it. So if we look at this example of seeing an apple, what happens is we basically, the sense of sight, we see that through our eyes, and that goes into the back of the eyes, and then it links to the association of what we think the apple is and what it means for us. And then there's some kind of secretion of hormones of either you like it, like apples, or you don't like apples. And then that forms a mental formation around the apple, what it is. So it's all electrical impulses that are going on where the brain is processing information. The mind is when you're visualizing that apple, so it's having that in mind. So the mind's eye, and when we say visualize something in your mind's eye, then you're visualizing that and you're actually seeing it. So there's not much difference between how you can, that's the power of the mind, is that you can actually visualize a place and just go there because it's stored in the memory, consciousness. You're not your body and you're not your mind. So that begs the question as to what are you? And that's kind of what we're going to cover during this discovery. But firstly, why should we be mindful of mind states? So the Buddha taught it because mind states can lead us into suffering. So if we have an unwholesome mind state, it can lead to unskillful actions. He also said that about there's no fixed, unchanging self. So that's something that everything's changing constantly, but the body keeps the score. So there's a mind-body connection to those unwholesome states and also wholesome states, the positive side. So this is why it's useful to get present to mind states, what mind state you're in, and be aware of it and what's actually happening to the body. So we create the world we live in, according to Buddha. So what do you want to create? Do you want to create a world of anger, or do you want to create a world of love? So what? The mind is everything. What you think, you become. So Buddha says if you understand the mind, you understand everything. Hence the training. Mindfulness is mind training. So how do we train the mind? Well, we look at a little bit of a reminder of the hindrances that stand in our way and the fetters for actually doing this practice. So the 5 hindrances, the senses get in the way, this greed, aversion, hate gets in the way, sloth and torpor, laziness gets in the way, restlessness, being distracted all the time, and doubt, indecision. Those are what gets in the way of your practice, and it may get in the way of your life. Anything. So fetters are basically that which ties us to the wheel of existence and binds us to an existence, what hinders our journey to enlightenment. That's what a fetter is. So there are 10 fetters, and the lower ones are this self-view. So the lower ones are the self-view, the narcissism. The second is skeptical doubt. Third, clinging to rules, rites, and rituals. So being cling to them. Buddha never wanted any rules or rituals, hence why the Dalai Lama declared that the monasteries, basically what they taught us is wrong. It's referring to some of those clinging to the rules and the rituals and the rites. Fourth, sensual lust. Fifth, ill will and aversion. And then there's the higher ones. So clinging to material existence, clinging to immaterial existence, conceit, restlessness, and ignorance. So getting into a meditative posture, whatever's comfortable for you, could be sitting on the floor or sitting on a chair, and just paying attention to keep the back nice and upright. And just resting the hands one on top of the other on the thighs. If you're sitting on a chair, just uncrossing your legs. And now just scanning the body from the head all the way down to the toes. Getting present to any sensations. Now checking in with the mind and just noticing what mind state you're currently in. Just putting any worries or concerns aside. While we set our intention for this mindfulness practice on the mind. getting present to the impermanence of the mind, changing from moment to moment. Understanding that the mind is made up of sense perceptions, verbal and abstract thought, emotions, feelings of happiness and unhappiness, attention, concentration, intelligence, and memories. It covers every type of mental activity. You are not your body and you're not your mind. The nature of mind is a bit like a river where thoughts are running down the stream. Some of those thoughts may not be your own thoughts. Maybe someone else's perception of something. We tend to believe that it's true, but our thoughts are not facts. As the Buddha says, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. So if we create the world we live in through our thoughts, and our mind states, perhaps it's time to investigate, as unwholesome mind states can lead to unskillful actions. Remembering the 5 hindrances: sense desire, greed, aversion, ill will leading to hate, sloth and torpor leading to laziness, restlessness leading to being distracted, doubt leading to indecision. just being with the mind, part of our mindfulness practice. It takes courage to sit with the mind. Using the framework for mindfulness, we can apply 4 elements. Recognize what mind state is arising. Acknowledge that mind state. Do what you need to do to calm yourself down. Then use this insight meditation to investigate the cause of that mind state. And then get present to non-identifying with that mind state as self. Detach from it. Coming back to the breath now. Breathing in and breathing out. And getting ready to come out of the meditation by slowly opening your eyes and coming back into the room. If you have any questions, please get in touch or attend one of the live classes on every Monday, 8 o'clock. It's an invitation to do the work. So just continue to get present to these 5 hindrances. And when you've calmed down, investigate one of the ones that are more dominant and watch a Dharma talk on the 5 hindrances. They'll give you some insights into how to overcome them and practice the antidotes for each hindrance. Hello.
Morning. How are you? You're recording this one.
Yeah, just recording